Well, good Saturday morning, everyone. I am sports mental health empowerment coach and couple marriage and family therapist, Dr. Lauren Pitts. My co-host, Ronnie Ransome Jr. He's double dipping today, Ted. He's double dipping. He's being called into mental health duties in the show, so he may or may not be able to pop in and out today, but we're going to hold it down for him anyway. You all know who this guy is. This is Ted Wright the third. He is no stranger to House Talk Pregame. Welcome home, sir. It is so good to
Thank
have you
you.
back.
Thank you.
So
It's been
good
a
to have you.
minute. It's been a minute, but I truly have been still following you all, and you and Ronnie do an outstanding job and tapping into what's going on in our community, as
Yeah,
well as it relates to sports, mental health, and all those other things. So I love
yeah,
the show. I still listen to it. I just haven't been able to be on with a lot of
yeah.
other things going on in my life, but I'm excited to be here today, and we hope to see Ronnie soon.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And Ted has a lot going on these days, folks. He's got a lot
Hmm.
going on. He's going to pepper you with it intermittently throughout the show so that you can hear all of the wonderful, extraordinary things that God is doing in his life and how he is impacting the lives of folks both in sport and beyond the sports arenas. So super excited to hear more
Mhm.
about that. Don't forget HSRN, folks, Heritage Sports Radio Network. We want you to make sure that you are going to the App Store, that you are downloading the app so that you can catch
Mhm.
all of the amazing shows that we have on HSRN. Don't forget, HSRN is empowering the HBCU families, head, heart, and hands to deliver
Mhm.
the impact that we all know that it can. Super excited about where we're going as a network and all of the extraordinary work that all
Mhm.
of us on the lineup are doing. So please, please, please join us and hear not just HT, but all of the other shows that are being run by my colleagues and our colleagues. I'm
Mhm.
super excited. Look, today we are talking about what I believe, we talk about powerful subjects every single solitary week, Ted. But
Mhm.
I don't know, man. There's something unique about this one. Defense or defensiveness. And, we see that in sport and we see it in life. Both offensive behavior and defensive behavior can involve the use of force and aggression. The difference lies in how the force or aggression is used in and outside of athletic competition.
Mhm.
Man, does that open a can of worms?
It does. It does.
Yeah,
Um, it,
no, go ahead, sir.
no, I was just going to say, from a sports context,
Mm,
aggression, especially in football and
yeah.
basketball, in most sports,
Hmm.
it's always told to be aggressive. You have to be
Yeah,
assertive. You have to take the
yeah,
initiative. You have to
yeah,
plow over that team. You have to
yeah,
win. And
yeah,
sometimes if you don't had checks and balances with those things, they can
yeah.
bleed over into your personal life
Oh,
as
yeah,
well as your relationships and other things. So I think this is a great
yeah,
subject that we're going to talk about, Dr.
yeah.
Pitts.
Yeah, it's something, I sat here, I was so disgusted last night, Ted. The Dallas Mavericks are in the playoffs. They're
Mm,
the underdog. Nobody expected them to do anything. Nobody expected them to come as far. I could not believe they let Golden State back in that game last night. I was like, are you
I
kidding me
was
right now?
I was upset because I'm a Luca
Ooh,
fan. I have to be
yeah,
real. Luca
man.
Doncic is
He's all
an
that to show the Green Bay
incredible,
back at door. Chips, that boy is bad to the bone.
but
Ugh.
they let that one get away,
Yeah,
unfortunately. So
they really
hopefully
did.
we can have a repeat like they did in Phoenix and go down and be able to win both games at home and kind of get
Yeah,
things back on track. So
yeah,
we'll see. But
yeah,
Golden State's been there before. We got to give them
yeah,
credit, and they have
yeah,
the
indeed.
mental capacity to understand the situations that they were in, and
Yep.
they were able to come back.
Yeah, yeah. So we gonna kick it up a notch. Jason Kidd keeps talking about needing the defense to show up. We need the defense to show up, and that's what I love about Luca. Like he don't have no problem throwing them under the bus in a press conference. Look there, he throws them under the bus and mashes the gas. But it's real though. He's
Yeah.
not doing it in a disrespectful way. He's like, look, man, this is a team sport. Yo,
Mhm.
let's do this thing. I mean, So oftentimes, especially during that Phoenix, I was like, is he the only one playing?
Yeah.
Is he the only one that knows that there's a game going on and that they want to advance in the playoffs? So yeah, so definitely. The other thing that we want to touch on, goodness gracious, there is craziness going on all across the country and around the
Yes.
world. I was in taking a look at, I wanted, everybody knows I'm a research fanatic, right? And Ted, in my research about all these mass shootings that are going on, we're 19 weeks, just 19 weeks into a 52-week year. And there has already been 198 mass shootings in the US. Now, people like 198, all I heard, I heard about Buffalo, I heard about Dallas, but here's the thing, not all of them make national headline news. But when you pull the data from all over the country, 198 mass shootings nationwide. So we want to take a moment to offer our condolences and our sympathy to the families that have lost loved ones in these senseless shootings. I know here in the DFW Metroplex area, and you all, I'm sure, are hearing about it on national news, that we're and it applies in Buffalo as well, but as Black and brown persons, we're being targeted. Asians, African Americans, we're being targeted. So, it's clear, the FBI is investigating that some of these shootings are racially motivated. And I find myself asking, how did we get back here?
Mm.
But we know how we got back here. And I'm not going to go there. And I believe that I say get back here just sort of figuratively speaking, but I believe that we've always been here. I just believe that there are some things that have happened in the past 6 years or so that woke a sleeping giant. That's all.
I agree.
I believe that the hatred has always been present, but it was people were attempting to camouflage it. Because
Sure.
we know it's there. We know it's there, but it's been camouflaged, because people still fix their mouths to say that there's no systemic racism in this country, which I think is like ridiculous. That's a whole nother show. So yeah, just
that is heart-wrenching. I mean, I watched on television about the thing that happened in Buffalo, the mass shooting there, and I just was totally in awe about the detail and the planning and the whole. It wasn't just like, I'm mad today and I'm going to go out and do something out of it, because I'm angry. But to methodically do recon, all these things, and then when you hear the age of the person, we're talking 18 years old.
Kid.
Okay, so what was going on when he was 15? And that's where I'm trying to try to grasp, like, what was going on in this gentleman's household at 15 that with signs or triggers that were saying that this was the path that he was coming towards. You couldn't miss that. There had to be signs of something. And so that's why I think it's so important, Dr. Pitts, that there are people like you. I know you all are overworked, underpaid, don't have enough resources. Nobody feels that putting millions and billions of dollars into mental health aspect of helping with crime and how people think and these outbursts, they don't think it's worth it. But I believe that it is, because I think that you can work with a child who has some issues before they become an adult, where it's hard to fix those situations. And then you have a broken adult who's now in prison, who now has to go through all these cyclical things that's a result and the consequences of that. And why? Because we didn't address it when Billy was 15 and we thought it was cute when he did certain things, and we just kind of laughed and just swept it under the rug. And so I think it just bringing more of a heightened awareness to the activities of our children and also kind of what they're into. And we can address some of these things that seem to be off kilter well before they get to a fully fueled bomb like what we had in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's real, Ted, because if Buffalo, and as well as so many other incidents that have occurred, if Buffalo is not a key indicator that systemic racism is alive and well and burning like a raging fire in this country, I don't know what is. It is so evident. And I'm glad that you highlighted the point about the home life. And we talk about it every single solitary week, right? That's the essence of systemic thinking. That's the essence of systemic problems, and recognize, and so in some cases it's multi-generational. It's, we call it a multi-generational transmission, right? That it's carrying over, because what do we know to be true? Racism is grounded in hatred. Hatred is learned. It's learned, it's ingrained, it's taught, it's fueled, it's fanned. It, it's it is it is a fiber issue. It's a systemic moral fiber issue that exists in far too many homes and communities all across this country, and truth be told, all over the world. And if people, you can keep ignoring it if you want to. What we know historically is the longer it gets ignored, the longer it gets swept under the rug, the longer it gets made light of, the more problematic it becomes. It is a cancer. It is a stage 4 cancer in this country and globally, but for emphasis on the United States, it is a stage 4 cancer. And what do we know to be true about some forms of stage 4 cancer? You can open the person up and it's like an atom bomb went off inside of the person. It is everywhere. And you get to a point where it becomes more and more difficult to contain. And you get to a point where people die.
Correct.
People die. And when do the powers that be get tired of people dying? We can talk about it all day long, but what are folks doing about it? What are folks doing about it?
Well, I think in our generation, unfortunately, Dr. Pitts, people in their 50s and the baby boomers, our young folks don't believe in the way we handled it. Okay. So I think the younger generation they're not gonna go down the same paths. They're not gonna vote for the same people. They're gonna be looking at a more inclusive type leadership. It's not going to look exactly the way we see it today. I believe in the future, it's going to be, government's going to be a little bit different. I think we'll have, I believe that some of the hatred and the racism that has been permeated through our country is starting to be squoze out. And what I mean by that is the younger generation are now interacting with each other through school, through social media. So they don't see each other the way our grandparents or looked at us. So it's a little different for them. So now they're already intermingling with different races and people of different colors and nationalities and beliefs and all that, and they're friends. So how can I have an issue with one of my friends just because of some stuff that the government's talking about? So that's why I think eventually it's going to change and it'll filter out. But right now it is in a place where it needs to be addressed. And I just think it's a sore that everybody's seeing now, and they really can't put their head under the rug anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're spot on, whether it's the millennials or the Gen Zs. These hard conversations, that's one of the things that I do appreciate about both of those generations, is that they are in your face. They're close talkers. And I applaud those of them that are willing to have those hard conversations, that are willing to go before Congress, that are willing to go before the Senate, that are willing to get in the face and space of our leaders at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, and have some of these hard conversations. And, going to these rallies, going to these town hall meetings and asking the hard questions, and not allowing the political figures that are running for office to skirt by and give you some superficial, mamby-pamby answer. No. Let's get some substance here. Let's have some substantive responses And oh, by the way, put some systems and measures in place to hold folks accountable. So yeah, so there's a lot going on. One of the things that I want to mention, and I'll continue to mention until that time, is National HIV Testing Day. That is a big deal. HIV and AIDS is still very present in Black and Brown communities all across the nation. There's so much other stuff going on. We've been distracted from even talking about it. Like, you really don't hear a whole lot of conversation about HIV and AIDS too much anymore, but it's still very much alive and you know, going through our communities like brush fire. The 9th annual Get Tested, Grab a Bite event is being held on Monday, June 27th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Glendale Park, which is at 1515 East Ledbetter Drive in Dallas, Texas. 75216 is the zip code. That event is being held by the AFIA, AFIYA Center. For more information, you can email tpenny@theafiacenter.org or a Roberson at theafiacenter.org to participate in that event. Testing is free. Go have it done. You know, we are 3/4 of the way through May being Mental Health Awareness Month. Every day should be mental health awareness. So, you know, please, if you or someone you know is in crisis, you want to dial 911 if it's an imminent emergency, or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. And just, you know, stay aware. I've reviewed the statistics. I'm not going to do that today, but these statistics, Ted, are alarming. They're alarming for youth and young adults. They're alarming it's just alarming, the mental health crises that we're in here in the US and, truth be told, globally. And we have to pay attention. Folks are hurting. Folks are hurting. And it only takes a moment. It only takes a moment to genuinely and sincerely say to someone, hey, you okay? How's it going? You need anything? And I say all the time, you know, whether you're intimately connected, y'all know, you can call me anytime, day or night. I can take a nap later. I'm gonna do my part to make sure the people that I love and care about are okay. I am never, ever, ever too busy to be a shoulder, to be a source of comfort, a voice of reason. I'm never too busy to just
and we have to hear people, Dr. Pitts. We do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, you asked the question about, we have to ask people how they're doing, how you feeling today, those kind of things. You know what? Sometimes that question is just a general question. It's just so cliche that we say that in a general conversation with people when we go to work. How was your day? How you feeling? That's just like what we do. And most people just have an immediate response. Even people in crisis probably just respond back to a blanket statement like that. I'm doing okay, or I'm making it, or whatever. And then the person leaves and going about their business. Here's what I do differently sometimes. If a person responds to something and discerning says to me, no, they're not. I say, I'll repeat the question and say, no, Dr. Pitts, listen to me, really. How are you?
Right.
When I say that, the person, then that defense comes down, they'll say, this is how I'm really feeling. And so sometimes we have to just take the time to ask the question, sometimes twice, and be serious about when we ask it the second time. Really? How are you for real? And if the person, they may open up, they may say, no, I'm great. Okay. I just want you to know that I'm here for you if you ever need to talk. And so we have to take time for people, because sometimes it's just, that's all they need, is to know there's someone out here who cares, that will be willing to listen to me, and not talk at me.
Real.
So
that's real.
You therapists, you all have mastered that piece, the good ones. And I think you're more effective when you do that. Yeah,
you nailed it. You nailed that thing right on the head. And it's I love and appreciate the fact that you said that, you know, that term that we active listening. You have to be able to listen actively, and you're absolutely right. Thank you for correcting me on that, because I didn't mean it in a
no
superficial way. No, and I'm not being defensive, I swear. Well, but I want to clarify, because I want people to know exactly what I meant. I should have said it differently. Is that you can ask someone that basic question, but that's where it's so important that you're authentic when you ask. Don't
There you
allow
go.
folks to just be like, oh yeah, I'm good. Because what I say to folks, and especially, if it's days that I actually have my glasses on, I'll say, really? If they say, no, Dr. Pitts, I'm good. What's good about it? What's good about your day? What's good about your life right now? And I ask those exploratory questions. I don't even my friends stuff, like I don't just let folks get by what, no, I'm good. I'm good. No, look, your eyes, your posture, your nonverbals, everything is telling me that you're not. Now, what I also will say is, if you don't want to talk about it right now, I completely respect that. But I also need you to know I'm going to circle back and I'm going to ask you again, and we're going to have this conversation, because what I don't want you to do is internalize all of that toxicity of life. I don't want you to internalize it. I'm going to help you purge, even if you can word vomit. You can word vomit with me. I have, a dump that I dump mine into, but yeah, I'm not going to let you suffer in silence. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm gonna get on your nerves. I'm gonna make you talk to me.
Because we care. And I hope anybody else out there that's listening, that's working with people who are struggling with those types of things, and we cannot be short with them.
Right.
And you have to have the time. The other issue is, a lot of people going through crisis, they size you up and say, can that person really help me if I tell them what's going on? I need my car fixed, and Dr. Pitts is a psychiatrist or a mental health specialist, and that's all I look at her as. She couldn't even think about fixing my engine. So how can she help me? So why would I tell her? But sometimes we have to just get people to understand, we're not really trying to pry. We're not trying to expose your business to condemn you.
That's right.
We are not trying to put your stuff on YouTube and Facebook and tell everybody your problems and make light of it. I want to know your problem authentically, because I want to see how I can help. And if a person trusts you with that, here's the flip side where you can lose them. If you violate their trust by putting their information out or telling someone something that you shouldn't, they'll never come back to you. And not only will they never come back to you again, they'll probably go back further into their hole of lacking trust in other people as well, no matter what they're dressed up like.
That's real. And that's exactly why we as clinicians, and dependent upon what type of clinician you are, determines the code of ethics that you have to swear to. But we have, one of our primary code of ethics is to do no harm. That's huge. Like, you can lose your license for that. You have to be cautious and very gentle and sensitive. One of the things that I say to my clients is, trust the process. Trust that I am going to gently and safely, thank you for talking about emotional safety. I'm going to safely and gently guide you through this process. And in this process, undoubtedly, we may hit some pockets of discomfort, but if you just trust the process, I commit to gently and safely guiding you through that discomfort, because on the other side of that is the unlimited possibilities of more and different and better for your life. And that's the place and space of joy and peace and fulfillment that we want you to be able to make that transition to.
A place of hope.
Yeah. Ronnie says we're hope dealers.
Yeah, hope dealers.
Ronnie calls us hope dealers.
Hey, I'm gonna have to write that one down. I like that. I'm a hope dealer.
Yeah, you a hope dealer. So that's a great segue into my mental health tip of the week. And then I'm going to share some real quick HBCU news, and we're going to jump into this conversation.
Okay.
So my mental health tip, I'm actually going to put a spin on it. I'm going to flip it. And, we've heard the expression actions grow reactions, right? And that we each have the ability to take responsibility and accountability for our actions, but a lot of people get over in defensiveness and they don't do that. But I want to provide a mental health tip, Ted, through the lens of how can we make sure that we're contributing to our relationships and our conversations holistically so that we can stop putting other people on the defensive. Because so oftentimes we treat defensiveness, and I mean, we know that it has its negative connotations, right? But we as individuals also have to take responsibility and accountability for how we're communicating, because oftentimes how we come at someone based upon our communication style can put them on the defensive, and people don't want to take responsibility and accountability for how they're showing up that could result in somebody responding to them defensively. So here's the first tip. It's all one tip, but I'm going to give you bullet points within the tip. Make requests, don't criticize. You want to make requests to folks rather than start off with criticism. Ted, one of the things that I tell folks when they're saying to me in session, well, Dr. Pitts, I'm having conflict resolution issues with my partner or with my mom or my sibling or whoever the case may be. And every time I try to say something, they get on the defensive the whole 9 yards, and they're getting like all intense when they're talking to me. Whoa. I'm like, okay, let's practice this. And one of the things that I suggest is you have to lead in using gentle, affirming language. You have to lead in without, if you hadn't said and if you hadn't did, no. I tell folks, lead in with love. You hear me say it all the time on every show almost. We have to be willing to meet people in a place of common humanity with an open mind and an open heart. And doing that is going to require you to lead in very gently, very lovingly, affirming what the person has done right or what they've said right. And make a request, Ted, not based on you statements, but based on I statements. Ted, when I'm spoken to in a really harsh manner, it makes me feel a little defensive, and I don't want to feel defensive, but it's times like that when someone's speaking to me in an elevated tone of voice and their body language is sort of scowling at me, or they're in my space that they didn't ask me to be in. It makes me a little uncomfortable. It's a trauma trigger for me, Ted. So it would be helpful if when someone, and you see, I'm generalizing, I could be talking to you about something you said or did that bothered me, right? But I'm saying, but I'm making it more vague so that you don't feel attacked, right? So that you don't feel attacked, that's sort of like a trauma trigger for me. So, it makes me feel safe to speak openly, honestly, and to receive the constructive criticism that I know that is being given to me because, folks genuinely love me and care about me and want me to be a better person and a better clinician. It helps me to receive the information better when it's not presented to me in such an aggressive or assertive way. But I know that this information is being presented to me out of love. I totally know. I know that it's been, and that makes all the difference in the world. It's a request and not a criticism. And it can help people to receive the information that's coming forth. The next
that
one
is so good. That tip was for me. So I wrote that one down completely because I need to start applying it.
Yeah. And look, and folks hear me say all the time, I mean, y'all know I'm imperfect. I'm fallible. I have work on. Ronnie checks me. Sometimes he hard checks me. Like that. Sometimes he hard checks me, and other times he'll check me more gentle. But that's okay because I'm receptive to being checked because I know he's doing it in love. I know that he is helping me to be a better clinician. He's helping me to be a better person. He's helping me to be a better host of this show. And I know that the feedback that he gives me both on the air and off the air is done out of pure love. And I'm okay with that. So here's the other part of the mental health tip. This one's a big one, Ted. You ready?
Okay.
We got to stop trying to control the other person. We have to
say that again.
We have to stop trying to control the other person. If you are trying to control, manipulate, and dominate the other person's thoughts or behavior or their language, and you're doing that, like, it's going to put them on the defensive every time. Because who are you? Who do you think you are? Who are you to tell me anything? And folk automatically, like, the hackles go up on their neck. They get in that fight stance, and their guns,
Guns blazing.
guns blazing, guns
Mhm.
blazing. So
You can ready
stop
to get
trying
some
to
smoke.
Yeah, right. Right. You don't want no smoke. You don't want no smoke.
Yep.
Here's the other thing. This one requires humility. Folk don't like to talk about humility anymore, but we
Mhm.
have to acknowledge our own failings, Ted. We have to acknowledge that, you know what? I was harsh when I said that. I was abrupt and abrasive. That's a work on. I've come a mighty long way, but there's still work for Lauren to do in that area, right?
Hey man,
So
we all
it's
gotta do that.
like, as my mentor, there have been times, you know how many times you said to me over the years, sis, yeah, look, so I just want y'all to know, Ted checks me too. So
Not often.
you've never had to hard check me though.
No.
You've never had to hard check me. But he does. And it's like, it reminds me of a former partner. He used to say, soft, babe, soft. Because my alter ego is a raging pit bull with
Yeah.
with a 9mm Glock strapped to the
Mhm.
back, right?
Mhm.
Life, trauma response. So there's times that, you know what, I have to acknowledge, we have to acknowledge we missed the mark.
Mhm.
We missed it. Oh, I tell folks, own your stuff.
Mhm.
That requires humility and it
Mhm.
requires maturity. Just
Yeah.
own your stuff. You know what? You dropped the ball. You said or did or act, it's jacked up. Own that. Own it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Avoid being judgmental.
Mm.
Avoid being judgmental. There but the grace of God, go I.
Mhm.
The only difference between me and Ted, me and Ronnie, me and you, audience, is a choice. I keep telling folks, if you live long enough, you might make some choices that you're not proud of. You
Mhm.
might say some things and do some things that you
Mhm.
wish you could unsay and that you wish you could take back. And we have to extend grace. Part of
Mhm.
meeting people in a place of common humanity with an open mind and an open heart is being willing to acknowledge that we're all fallible.
Mhm.
We're all imperfect. And we have to be willing to recognize that everybody has a whole story.
Mhm.
Everybody.
True.
Everybody has a whole story that doesn't justify, but will explain why people are thinking, feeling, and behaving the way that they do. And we need to
Absolutely.
be willing to extend some grace on that.
Yep.
And then,
Grace.
yep, the last two within this tip is, this one's another huge one. Express concern and empathy.
Mhm.
That's I don't need to explain that. That's pretty darn simple. Express concern and empathy. And Ted, you'll appreciate this last part of the tip. Be a problem solver. Be a problem
Mhm.
solver. Folk can point the finger and blame and shame and all of this stuff all day, every day, and point out everything that's wrong. But what solutions are you offering to whatever problems that you are acknowledging exist with the person or persons that you're taking issue with? You
Mhm.
know, that was one of the things that I really appreciate about Luca, right? He was like, okay, this is the problem,
Mhm.
but here's some solutions that we need to make adjustments on offense. We need to make adjustments on defense. Folk
Mhm.
need to man up. They need to guard their man. They need to pay attention to what they're doing. You need to handle your business.
Yeah.
You need to handle your business.
Do
Yeah.
your job.
Boom. Do your job. Do your job. So that's my mental health tip of the week. Just real quick.
That's like a mental health tip for the month. That was a lot of, you had a lot of stuff in there. I was taking me some copious notes here, and you talked about making a request versus criticizing. I really like that. Stop trying to control the other person. And these are some of my takeaways. You have to have a humble heart, meaning you have to have humility to accept and acknowledge your own failures and shortcomings.
Mhm.
We can't be judgmental. We got to
Mhm.
extend grace, just like Jesus
Mhm.
did for us, because we don't
Amen.
deserve to be where we are. And we
Amen.
once were those people
That's right.
sometimes. And so we
I'm
can't get
I'm
high
still
and
those
mighty
people sometimes.
that we forget that we used to be them.
Did you hear
And
what I said, Ted?
what's that?
I said I'm still those people sometimes.
Not as often as you used to be.
Right. Nowhere near. Look, I'm just keeping it real. Gonna be
Look,
transparent. Keep 100 with you folks.
it's okay to go to Egypt, just don't
Yeah.
stay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Every
All
once
right.
in a while.
There you go. We're going to get better. We are a work in progress.
Indeed.
And then you said express concern and empathy for other people and then being a problem solver. So
Yeah.
if you're talking to people and they got issues, you may not be able to be the solution to their problem and know the answer, but just at least be able to direct them to the right people that can give them the help. Sometimes we have people that want to try to be everything to everyone because they know you, but stay in your lane.
Real.
If you're not a mechanic, don't give them no advice on how to fix their transmission. Okay, just say you need to get a reputable mechanic. This is my advice to you. Get a reputable mechanic, and I know a couple that you can choose from. Talk to them about your car. I really would. You wouldn't want me to fix it. Your foot's bothering you? I know a podiatrist.
Yep.
He worked on my foot. I'm good to go. I'm not gonna give you no foot advice. You talk to him. So when you send the people to the right people, you don't have to be the advice that they need to hear. You're just sending them to the source. And I think sometimes we want to do so much more for other people and it goes beyond our scope. And then we get into what we think, what we heard. You ain't giving out actual facts. And sometimes you're not even helping that person. You're actually hurting them because they're trusting you because you have influence. And they're taking that advice, which has not necessarily been researched and given to them in a proper context.
Yeah. Ted, that thing, you nailed that again. No surprise there. And that comes up all the time in my clinical work. And I literally just said to a client last night, Dr. Pitts, can you, because people want to refer people to me and stuff like that. Well, can you get, no, no, for real. Like I literally,
don't tell me, just tell me, has anybody ever called you? This is probably jokingly, but anybody calls and say, listen, Dr. Pitts, I need you to perform an exorcism because this person is like way out of left. It's not something you've seen before. Have you ever gotten that request yet?
So it's funny. So yes, I have gotten it jokingly. I have gotten it jokingly because, look, that I do couple marriage and family therapy. So people come in, look, they think their husband is demon possessed, they think their wife is demon possessed, they think their kids are demon possessed, the whole 9 yards. And it's only ever come up, people have said it jokingly, and then they'll say, but Dr. Pitts, seriously, like something is seriously wrong. What are your recommendations here? But I say all that to say, piggybacking on the point that you made, is that I know my limitations as a clinician, and I have no problem. I decline clients on a regular, Ted, because I don't have the particular expertise and skill set that is going to serve them well. And I took an oath to do no harm. I'm not going to pretend that, oh yeah, you can read a book in the whole 9 yards, but the textbook, man, listen, no.
You dealing with people's lives.
Yes. I'm like, no. And then there have been times I tell people I fire clients. I said I fire clients. Folks come in, and I say that jokingly, but I'm serious, because people come in and folks may know that something is wrong, right? They know that something is off about them, but they have no idea. And people make the mistake of diagnosing themselves. Stop doing that, please. And they'll come in and they'll think that they're coming in with one presenting problem. And then, I get to doing assessments and what have you. And and I say jokingly fire clients, but what I've had to do is refer clients to a much higher level of care, because folks, tell me, we're not human mechanics. We're not human mechanics. They want this level of care when the reality of it is some people need inpatient. They need inpatient. They need intensive inpatient. And you coming to see me in an outpatient, now, outpatient virtual setting or intensive, outpatient virtual is not the appropriate level of care. And we need to be able to be honest with folks and say
True.
that. I would love to be able to help you, but I can't. And nurture them through that referral and that transition. Real quick on HBCU news, I want to honor Ted. I want to honor the class that Coach Deion Sanders has demonstrated in response to Coach Nick Saban, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for as well. He's earned that. He's all that soda rebate and bag of chips. But Coach Saban accused Coach Sanders of bribing a recruit with $1 million to come to Jackson State. And Coach Prime handled it with such tremendous class and grace. And he said very simply, I'm going to paraphrase for you to just, he said, you know, he acknowledged that he has a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Saban, always has, always will, loves him. You know, they do the commercials together and all of that.
Affleck.
But Coach Prime said that he's unwilling to have a private conversation with Coach Saban because Coach Saban made very public statements. And Coach Sanders said that conversation between them needs to be a public conversation so that people can hear how that matter is resolved in the public eye, because the very intense allegations were made very publicly. And I'm like, yeah, that just a tremendous amount of class and grace. But I definitely agree. Like, and that goes to anybody. You can't publicly attack and assassinate someone's character and then think that you can make a private phone call and make it all better, because the public is
didn't hear that.
But public didn't hear that. They're going based on what you said. So just wanted to acknowledge, you know, Coach, for how he handled that. I was really pleased, because, you know, that could have been very different.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, my perception on that, I didn't see the actual conversation, but based on what you're sharing with me, Deion Sanders knew when he stepped into this role and then having this idea of let's get a lot of our top athletes, which are a majority of them going to these bigger schools, BCS schools, and these winning programs. And putting their talent there. They're on national TV, getting all the money, all the bowl games, all the stuff. And then you have people in the HBC. Why can't they come to a HBCU, play same, maybe not the same exact level of competition? However, some of these kids can play at these other universities and bring notoriety to that program. Put up the same numbers, get in the league, everything. Deion is a conduit to get. He understands what the league's like. He knows that whole system. So he's bringing light on, I'm a gap. He's in the gap right now to say, I can bridge this high school kid through my university and then be able to get him presented to the NFL, his career, something, his dream he wanted to have happen. But he already knew that they were going to start. If anybody started coming, any of these top recruits that some of these big schools were coming after and they weren't able to get them and they were going to Deion school, they were going to start coming at him with allegations. What are you doing? There's no way in the world that kid would give up, you know, Alabama or USC to go to Jackson State. But I think that if these kids and the parents start seeing that, let's allow our kids to go to an HBCU, put the numbers up there. The competition will be better because you have so many more of them in that environment. Then the sponsors, all the big bowl games and all of that will have to come to where the talent is. And then we control our own destiny, and you can actually build a conglomerate and be able to have a producer of athletes going into the NFL every single year, not necessarily being at the last of the draft, but some of these can be top tier draft choices, I believe. So I commend him. I just hope he stays. We need the Eddie Georges. We need the Tyrone Wheatleys to stay. Those guys who've had NFL experience, you need to stay and continue to work with Deion and collectively start building programs as well. So I'm excited about what's going to happen.
It's good stuff for the future. The other HBCU news that I wanted to point out real quick involves your alma mater.
Mhm.
In Bowie State, the University of Maryland College Park unveils a plaza honoring slain Bowie State student days before graduation. A new plaza has been unveiled for Bowie State University Lieutenant Richard Collins III, a student who was tragically killed in a hate crime. The University of Maryland said that the plaza includes 2 walls, one featuring an engraved plaque honoring Collins, a fountain, and another wall displaying a unity mural created by UMD and Bowie State students. It's beautiful, by the way. It is.
Yeah, I
I
saw
think
it on
it's
the news.
beautiful.
They did a news
Yeah,
article and on the news here locally.
yeah. It is.
Um,
It's beautiful. It says 5 years after Lieutenant Richard Collins III was stabbed to death on the University of Maryland College Park campus, the school has unveiled a plaza dedicated to the Black ROTC graduate, designed to be a permanent reminder of the senseless killing and efforts to stamp out racial hatred. So, much love to Bowie State and to the family of Lieutenant Collins, and hats off to the University of Maryland for seeing the value in
yes.
doing some things and making such a beautiful statement in his memory. That's the type of work that we need to be seeing more of.
I went through the Bowie State ROTC program, got commissioned there as well.
Oh, nice.
And I know the excitement of that young man once he got commissioned, knowing he
Yeah.
had the opportunity to pursue an Army career.
Yeah.
It's sad that what happened to him at the University of Maryland. And generally, you wouldn't see this type of thing happen in terms of the University of Maryland maybe representing or speaking out or making some type of notation of what's going on. That's actually a great thing between the relationship between Bowie and the University of Maryland. Because we are a part, Bowie State was a part of the state system and fell under the University of Maryland. So there were a lot of sometimes disparities there as far as financial support from the state and federal government as to how those funds were distributed. So for University of Maryland to do something like that, even though he wasn't a student there, is huge. And so because it did happen on their campus, even though it wasn't their fault, they just made it recognized as a huge statement. So for equality, and hopefully it'll be able to help people to have better race relations as well.
Indeed. I definitely agree. So Ted, defense versus defensiveness. So just for clarity's sake, folks, so what is defensiveness, right? Defensiveness, it refers to both a feeling and a behavior. The feeling is typically elicited when you feel as though someone is being critical of you and results in shame, sadness, and anger. In turn, behavior usually results from the feelings such as being sarcastic, giving someone the silent treatment, or being critical in return. But defense, Ted, tell us what defense is in sports.
Defense in sports and pretty much in any sport is all the same, is to prevent the other team from scoring or getting an advantage on you. And so, obviously in football, we have to try to keep them out of the end zone. Basketball, you keep them from scoring on your goal. And so you try to play, you try to prevent what they're doing to you. What they're trying to do to you, you're trying to prevent it from happening. And so that's what defense is in the context of sports. Now, obviously, I know you want to talk about it in a different terminology, right? Or a different context.
I'm going to do that throughout the remainder of the show, but I want you to answer a burning question that I have. And I don't know if anybody else has this question. And for us, my husband says all the time, he was like, for somebody that didn't play sports, you sure know an awful lot about them. As because sports are, it runs through my DNA. Can you explain where the phrase, I don't know if I'm trying to say where it came from or what this is what I want to say. What is the significance of this statement? Offense sells tickets, defense wins games. Why do people say that?
Okay. Defense is not pretty because it's scrappy. You're trying, you don't know what's going on. It looks kind of not organized sometimes because you're
Mhm.
you're reacting to what the offense is doing. But the
Mhm.
whole goal is to stop them from scoring based on their thought of how they could get by you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So offense, though, so that makes it looks, defense is what keeps people from scoring is wins game. If you
Okay.
keep less points, the less
Okay.
points people score on you, the better chance you have to win.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
offense is sells tickets because it's generally the great players who have certain skills
Okay.
that are and abilities.
Mhm.
Some of them have the ability to maneuver through your defense,
Mm.
and because they are great offensive players.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
people come to see the Michael Jordans, the
Yeah.
Lucas, the Steph Currys, the
Yeah.
now John Morants. Why?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because that guy is, even though they're going to try to stop him,
Mhm.
that guy's game is so elevated that he's
Yeah.
going to adjust to whatever they do, and he's
Mhm.
still going to make it exciting for me to
Mhm.
watch.
Mhm.
So everybody likes to see the points scored. At least I do, but
Mhm.
because I'm an offensive guy. But
Mhm.
defense on the other side is they're at the mercy of the offense if they're not in the right scheme. Now
Yeah.
I'll give you and it's unfair, but I like Tom Brady, and I'm going to use him as an
I knew
analogy here.
you was gonna go there. I
But
knew
here's the
it.
deal:
I knew it. I knew it.
Tom Brady defense set up to defend against him and try
Mhm.
to not take away everything that he wanted to have. So they
Yeah.
try to outthink what he wanted to do.
Mhm.
But Brady was able to see whatever defense you were in, he had
Mhm.
enough mental capacity in the game to know what you're taking away. I still see the weakness in your defense because it still
Mhm.
has one.
He
And I'm going to
shreds
exploit,
defenses.
that. Even if you're
Mhm.
not, I want to do that, but I'll
Mhm.
be willing to take what you give me till you try to shore that up. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to start going to what I want. And
Mhm.
so great offensive players sell tickets because
Mhm.
people want to come see if they can make the
Mhm.
defense look bad.
Mhm.
But defense win championships when they happen to come up with a way to stop that
Mhm.
great offensive player
Mhm.
or team from
Mhm.
doing what they normally do.
Mhm.
So that's my take on that.
So I got a sidebar question for you,
Mhm.
Mr. Tom Brady fan.
Yes.
So who are you rooting for, the Patriots or the Bucks?
Okay. Great question. And so I'll give you the answer that everybody who asked me that same question, I give them. I am a diehard New England Patriot fan. It was even before Brady got there. So it was
Okay.
back in the Bledsoe, Tony Eason,
Yep.
Jim Plunkett.
Yep. Yep.
When Tom Brady got in the game for Drew Bledsoe when he got hurt,
I
I
remember
didn't
it.
even want him to get in. And then when they didn't give him his
Wow.
job back, I was upset with New England because I didn't think they treated Bledsoe fair for what he had given the
After his
team,
injury.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, they have better thoughts. They knew who Tom Brady was. Now, Tom
Mm-hmm.
Brady just fell into succession. So I love Tom Brady. They won the championships and all
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Mm-hmm.
still like New England.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am a Tom Brady fan because he is in Tampa Bay. So I like Tampa
Okay.
Bay. When he retires, Tampa Bay goes to the wayside and I'm back at New England. So I want New England to win. That's my team, but I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady guy, so I want them to win. So I can't wait to
Okay.
this year. I'm gonna go ahead and
I know.
prophetically
Go ahead.
speak
Go ahead.
this.
Put it out there. Look.
New
Go
England,
ahead.
New England versus no, New England versus Tampa Bay, Super Bowl 2020. What is that? 3.
You think so?
I'm hoping.
You think that young boy can handle Brady?
I didn't say he was going to win, Mac Jones. I didn't say he was
Yeah,
going to
Mac Jones.
win, but I think he's a winner. And
I,
so if he can get there,
yeah, Mac is good
it'd
now.
be great.
I give him credit where credit is due. He's good.
Now, I have to be honest, Dr. Pitts. I probably never told you this openly. I'm a DC guy, so the Commanders. I kind of grew up with the Redskins and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the deal, though. Deep down inside, I do like Dallas Cowboys from the perspective of the players that they have on their team. So I cannot not like that.
You
I
about to get hate
cannot
mail.
not like Z.
Get hate mail.
I like the players.
Mm-hmm.
The team is who I don't like.
Okay.
And so I
You don't like
sort
the
of
culture?
don't. It's not necessarily the culture. It's just
Mm-hmm.
People just gave them too much credit and they never lived up to it sometimes. That's all. America's team. How you be America's team? You ain't won a championship in 20 years. I'm just trying to figure all this out.
But people don't know the history of how that all started. Because when that all started back in the day, they were winning. That was a news reporter. The team didn't do that. A news reporter did that, and it stuck, and people took it and ran with it. And now everybody loves to hate Dallas because of it. But that was a news reporter that started that later.
Now, we'll be honest. Jerry's house is a bad house.
Yeah,
I've been up in that camp. Jerry's house, he did it. That thing is the bomb diggity. So, yeah. So if you ever get a chance, whoever's listening, you don't have to like the Cowboys or whoever, but go visit Jerry's house.
Yeah.
And I got to go to SoFi though. I got to get to SoFi.
Yeah, I want to go there too. Well, we play them there, but I'm like, what really?
Yes, you want to go.
Airfare is ridiculous right now. I do want to go.
Not for you. Not for you. Somebody you like Zeke so much, and you've been asked. They can be like, we have to fly her out here.
We have to get Dr. Pitts out here for that game. But I do want to go to the Rams game. Yeah, SoFi is amazing too. So look, so Ronnie sent some talking points too that he wants us to make sure that we touch on. He said that he wanted me to throw out there. Sometimes we get stuck in defense mode because taking the offensive necessary change can feel unattainable. Can you speak to that athletically and in life based on your perspective?
Okay. Yeah, I understand what Ronnie's actually asking, because sometimes we don't want to take that next step to go on the offense. We rather just stand in where we are and defend that and never explore anything beyond where we are. Because sometimes people could be in sports. Your coach could say, listen, I want you to play defensive end, but you're a defensive tackle, or you want to play linebacker. But he sees the potential in you. The question is, are you going to go and put the same effort in, or are you just going to defend why I still should be a linebacker and a defensive tackle? And so you can stay in that space mentally and say, I'm going to reject what the coach believes in me, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Or I can be a team player, maybe trust my coach in his thoughts of my ability and where I can help the team better, and then just be open to growing into something else and going on the offense for that type of position, just like I would for the position that he's not going to put me in this particular season. So now in life, a lot of people tend not to want to pursue the unknown. They get in a place of comfort. If I can do this, I don't have to work as hard. I don't have to stretch myself. I don't have to read any extra books. I can just maintain myself right here. And I'm good. But the hard part about that is later on you start living with this thing called regret.
Oh yeah.
And the regret happens when you miss out on the chances of doing something that you could have done. It was available to you. And you now see that you could have done it, but you had fear to even try because of, if I fail, everybody's going to laugh. Maybe people are going to go against me and say, why do you think you deserve to be that? Why are you going to waste your time doing that? Why you want to write a book? Why do you want to start a ministry? Why do you want to do all these things? You are right now. You got enough money. You got a house. So why do you want to do all of that extra stuff? And sometimes that just deters people and say, you're right. I'm going to be defensive. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just keep my mouth shut. And I'll just stay where they think I should be. When God has so much more for you. And the question is, offense requires you to take some faith moves.
Some risk.
I got to take a faith move. I got to do something I'm not comfortable with doing. And I got to trust that God's going to lead me in the right direction and give me all the tools I need to be successful in that. So for me personally, winning, doing it on my own used to feel good. Oh yeah, Ted, you lined it all up. You put dots all together and you got the end result. Congratulations to you. But when I let him do it, I'm amazed at the outcome because it's something I never would have thought of. So I'd rather live in that space than be in the space of let me just live in my own little limits of what I can do myself personally, rather than let him do it and just do stuff that I can't even imagine. Say, oh, that's how you gonna do that? I didn't even think of that one. That's being offensive to me, is taking the initiative, take the first step and say, hey, listen, I don't know what's out there, but I'm willing to take the step out on the water and see if I can walk.
I call the way that you describe being on the offense, I call that living in God's permissive will versus being on the defense, living offensively is living in God's perfect will. Let me correct that. It's living in God's perfect will. And living on the defense is living in God's permissive will.
That's right.
Two very different experiences. Very, very different experiences.
And you can live there, and it's not that it's bad, but I just, me personally, I just think that thing regret. As time goes on, you're going to look back and say, I could have taken that class. I could have helped those people. I could have started that nonprofit. I could have done this, or I could have skydived, or whatever it was. And then you look at yourself and say, well, the reason I can't skydive now is I only have one leg because the other one's bad. And so they're not going to let me do that. And now you just sit there and say, I wonder what if. And for me, I don't want to have any wonder what ifs. I want to be all the things that I've desired to do, which has changed now. He'll change the desires. He gives you the desires of your heart. But what he didn't say in there was, I'll change what your desires will become, what you'll be wanting.
That's right.
So those things, I'm just looking forward to them coming down the road. And it has nothing to do really with things about me personally. It's just generally about what he wants me to do to help other people and add value to his creation. So I'm just excited for what that looks like. And I got my box of popcorn out and I'm watching a movie.
Indeed. You said the key word, Ted, change. And when you think about from a life perspective, from a behavioral perspective, why people get defensive, I just want to highlight some signs for folks to let them know so that they can do that self-check and figure out, oh, they talking about me. Look here, we're talking about you. And you said this too. When you're defensive, you stop listening to other people. Can't nobody tell you nothing. You make excuses about whatever you're being criticized about. You blame the other person for what they're criticizing you about. You accuse the other person of doing the same thing. You try to justify your actions. You bring up past things that the other person did wrong and avoid talking about the current issue. You tell the other person that they do not feel the way that they do. Go ahead, speak to it, sir. Speak to it.
Girl, you chat. Look, I done seen people that do that. I've been guilty of it. But I think that when you have awareness, like when you're talking about, when we're talking about these things like we're doing today, the question is, are people willing to do the self-assessment?
Right, because it takes humility.
Are you gonna look in the mirror and say, I am that? That is what I'm doing. Or are you gonna say, that's their problem, they have to just learn to live with it? But sometimes change has to come from within. So you have to change on the inside and say, listen, first thing is I have to admit I have an issue. And you talk about that mental health. Listen, if I don't think nothing wrong, a doctor can't help me.
No, indeed.
What I need to go see a doctor for when I'm well? Or I perceive to be well. So I'm not going to seek the help. And for you to point out that I got a problem, you're going to get some smoke. Okay. And so the whole thing is you just have to allow people to, sometimes you have to address it. Be willing to do it in love, like you said. And you got to let God do what he do with it. And at the end of the day, you have to protect your own mental health, your own values, and be able to operate in that space the way you need to. And sometimes you may be the only example they see. And I tell people all the time, people are like, well, why people don't learn more about Jesus? Well, sometimes the only book, they may not see the Bible. The only Bible they'll see is you.
That's right.
And the question is, what are they reading?
Facts. That's
What are
real.
they reading?
What example are you an ambassador for the upbuilding of God's kingdom, or are you an admiral for the enemy? And your behavior, your actions always speak louder than words.
So when you
What?
hand them the Bible or hand
Yeah,
them the book, and
yeah,
you gave it to them, when they
yeah,
reading in there, do they see qualities and characteristics of
yeah,
how you approach and show them love in their
yeah,
situation in that book? Are you
yeah,
doing what Jesus said you should be doing, like
yeah.
he did to those people?
That's right. That's
Maybe,
right.
maybe not. But we got to look at the self-examine, Dr. Pitts.
Yeah,
It's called self-assessment.
that
And it
there it
ain't
is.
pretty. It ain't pretty.
It's hard
Mhm.
too, but it takes humility, and that is a great segue to Ronnie's next talking point that he wanted us to make sure we touch on. He said defensiveness can cause you to be benched not only in sports but in life as well.
Mm, true that. True that. Don't act like you don't want to play the position I'm giving you to play. I'll
Right.
get somebody else to do it. You'll be sitting on
Yeah.
the pine. And what
Yeah.
happens then? Now you're angry, you're
Yeah.
upset, you're not even a team player anymore.
Yeah.
You're now wishing that the guy who's in your position is not
Yep.
succeeding,
Yeah.
which means he doesn't do his job, which means the entire team loses.
Yeah. How about that?
All because you wanted what you want,
When you wanted it and
but
how you
not
wanted
for
it.
what, but you didn't want what was best for the team.
Right.
In life, it's the same way on any job. I mean, a lot of times people believe they can work in silos. I
Yeah.
do my thing, you do your thing. Don't come over here. Don't look on my paper and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if everybody's open and
Yeah.
everybody knows what everybody's doing,
Yeah.
then we can all work together and have a better outcome. But if
Indeed.
everybody wants to, it's just all about me. It's
Mm-hmm.
just look at my numbers. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
worried about nobody else. And as long as I get it done, that's the only person that matters.
Yeah.
No teamwork, none of that.
They say
It's
there's no I in team.
That's right. And you will end up on the bench of life
Mm-hmm.
because people won't want to be around you. They won't want to
Mm-hmm.
work with you. You'll be isolated. And now, what else happens to your life at that point?
Mm-hmm.
How are your friends and family? How's your
Yep.
relationship with them? Now you're every family reunion or every time you get together with the family based on what's happening at work because you're
Mm-hmm.
an individual. Now those you sitting there complaining that your family, all them crazy people on my job, they ain't no
Mm-hmm.
good, this, that, and the other, and never looked in the mirror at yourself as being a problem. Everybody else getting along. It's
Right.
you.
Right. 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 You the fish out of water because you're the one that's acting crazy. And that ties directly to what causes people to be defensive and ending up being benched in life. And I'm gonna navigate these in an interesting way so that we can chop it up
Mhm,
about these a little bit. A reaction to feeling insecure or fearful,
mhm,
a reaction to early childhood trauma or abuse,
mhm,
a reaction to anxiety or inability to be assertive, and a reaction to shame or guilt. And I think what's so interesting about those first key points, Ted, is that we see that in sports and obviously in life. And when you reflect, for example, let's look at last football season, for example. There were a few games where there were altercations between players on the same team.
mhm,
Then the usual, right? There were altercations between the opposing teams and benches being cleared in the whole 9 yards. But when you take a deeper look and you listen to the narrative that was coming forth in the press conferences after those games, those first 4 points of why people become defensive is there. With the Cowboys, one of the things that Dak had to apologize for is because when we lost that game against Arizona, the playoff game against Arizona, and he acknowledged it. He manned up. He acknowledged it, but he got defensive and he went into attack mode against the refs. And it was like, and he came back and he acknowledged the error of his ways in the whole 9 yards. But, he was under fire.
mhm,
He was under fire. They were in, hurry up mode, hurry up mode, hurry up mode. The ref hadn't touched the ball so that they could
mhm,
actually snap the play, that whole thing. But what that speaks to is in that moment, that was his reaction to shame and guilt because
mhm,
he felt like he lost us that game. when in actuality, and we say it all the time, right? Never leave the game in the hands of the refs. Never do. It don't make a difference what sport you're playing. Never leave the competition in the hands of the ref. You said it at the beginning of the show. Everybody do their job. And when the clock ticks 00, we go. We're going home with the W. We're going home with it. What do you think?
I have to tell you, it's interesting, Dr. Fitz. You're right. I think that we tend to not, the defensive part comes when we feel like we're being attacked personally, especially in sports. The player that is in a key role, like in the scenario you gave with Dak, the quarterback's always responsible. You should have known, and you should have done this and that kind of thing. And so at the end of the day, the offensive lineman who hiked the ball, the wide receiver who he never had a chance to throw it to, they're not in the press conference in the heat of the moment. I'm emotional because we lost the game, and I'm thinking about all the ramifications of that, and what people are going to be saying, and what I could have done better, and did I do something that could have made the team win and we wouldn't have been in this position. So I'm going through all of this stuff in my head at the end of the game, and now you throw me into a press conference with all these reporters who are thirsty, blood-hungry people who are basically going to ask all the questions that are going to add fuel to the fire and salt into my wound. And then you're going to expect me to be diplomatic in my responses when it's the same question over and over again. And I've answered it right the first time, and then people keep edging it and adding an extra word to it and trying to get me to say something that they want me to say.
So that they can attack you some more.
Exactly. So not only do I have to mentally in those positions be wise enough to know what they're trying to do to me, I still got to be able to manage and put my emotions in check as well. And so sometimes we do feel insecure. It's a natural feeling, but we have to immediately start understanding that it wasn't just me. I did my part. Maybe I did make a mistake, but I got to give myself some grace. And so I do think the insecurity issue is a huge thing. And then the abuse part, people take that loss and the press, and it's going to continue for the whole week throughout practice and all of that. And now you end up coming back to another game feeling the pressure of I got to deliver today. Everybody's watching me. And now why do you have that? Why? Because you feel insecure about your opportunity or whether or not you should be in that position or not. And I think sometimes we just have to step up and say, if we're there, we have to just figure it out, understand that it's going to be good times and bad times. And we just have to stay even with the flow. So can't get too high, can't get too low. And so that's why I always try to stay in the middle. I don't want to brag too much when things going well, because people waiting for you. People be waiting for you. Look at them. And then when you're losing, I look at him now. You know, he was bragging before, but if you stay even keel, you know it's going to be like this, and you know it's going to be like this. But you stay right in that middle, and you're happy and excited for both. I saw a lady yesterday, Lauren, with a shirt on that said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." I was like, that was powerful.
Yeah, it is. And that's what it's all about. That life, Ronnie says it all the time. He said life is about wins and lessons, not wins and losses. And that's it. You know, I tell people all the time, I've never been, I don't do the trash talking. I don't do any of that. Everybody knows this, Ronnie says. He's like, everybody knows she bleeds blue and silver. You know, I love my Dallas Cowboys, and I've always said for years and years, win, lose, or draw. It don't make it. There's nothing that anybody can say or do to make me feel any different. I'm loyal. Win, lose, or draw. We do more losing than win, but it's all good in the neighborhood. Seasons change. Don't know when it's gonna change. Don't know when it's gonna change. But seasons eventually will change.
That's true.
So, well, I want to circle back to the Coach Saban situation for a moment, because it ties into additional causes of defensiveness that I want us to make sure we get it in. Nick Saban becoming defensive and speaking out about name, image, likeness could have future Black athletes looking at him with a little defensiveness. If he doesn't want his players to profit from their hard work, why should they continue to go there and work hard for his rewards?
Wow. Now that one, I don't know. I haven't read that what
Mhm,
his reasoning would be behind
mhm,
not wanting
mhm,
them to do that.
mhm, mhm,
So I'd have to hear that. But just from a general perspective,
mhm,
these kids aren't getting paid right now.
mhm.
You're basically bringing these kids in, getting now they are getting a degree. Don't
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Alabama or wherever these
yeah,
schools are, and those are thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that they don't have to pay back. I get that.
yeah, yeah.
However, when you look in comparison to the millions of
Mhm,
dollars that are being generated by the TV revenue, you talk about the sponsors,
mhm.
all of that, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, these bowl
Oh, yeah.
games and all that. And I am number 4.
Mhm.
Everybody in the stands is wearing my jersey,
Yeah.
Alabama jersey, Mr. Saban.
Mhm,
And they spent money on that jersey, and
mhm.
I didn't get any of that. Alabama
Right,
did. So my
right.
question is, if this name and likeness situation is available for me,
Mhm,
this student athlete who can't work in the off season because I'm
mhm,
on your weight program and
mhm,
training all year round to be a top 10 program.
mhm, mhm.
How do I earn income to be able to take my girlfriend out, go on dates, go to plays, go to things that I want to do when my parents
Yeah,
don't have it to send me?
yeah.
And if I am a star athlete and I'm producing on the field for you and we're winning
Mhm,
championships and
mhm.
somebody wants my autograph, why shouldn't I profit from that? I
Amen.
see no reason why it should not happen. And if he's against that, I'd have to hear his reasoning behind it
Yeah,
to justify why he would say that, because I can't see
yeah.
one just thinking off the top of my head right now why it wouldn't be.
What would justify it?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he can't pay the players. I mean, they
Right.
can't technically pay them. And
Mhm,
so what do you do?
mhm,
If I'm good
mhm.
enough and somebody's willing to, I can do a podcast and I can get a sponsor to
Yeah.
sponsor my podcast, and I can use my own creativity as a student for
Mm,
those 4.5 years to earn an
mhm,
income and
mhm.
not hurt your program.
Yeah,
Why shouldn't I do that?
yeah.
Now, the
So,
alternative, Dr. Pitts, if they want to, okay, take the name and likeness away, but
mm,
put 25, $30,000 into an account for
yep.
every athlete. So when I graduate, I have a certain amount of money that's appreciated over the time that I produced in your
Yeah,
program. And then
yeah.
you, upon graduation, yes, I have no debt, student loan, but now
Mhm.
because of your program, I may not never ever make it to the NFL, but I
Right.
got
And
to
oh, by the
start
way,
in
my
life.
body's tore up.
Yep. So I got to start in life to make
Yeah,
some investments, to be able to do some things, to at least
yeah,
start out in a place where I can get ahead.
yeah.
Because
It's
what
good.
happens to the guy that's third string, that's on
Right,
Alabama or these other schools, that never
right,
gets to look in the league?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
that's a reasonable, that's reasonable. And it's what you just beautifully articulated is in that context why some players, or as Ronnie suggested, are defensive about it, because a lot of times people become defensive because they're reacting to this feeling that the truth is being hidden,
Mm-hmm.
right? That, sometimes it's them hiding the truth, but other times they react defensively because they feel like whoever it is they're communicating with is withholding the truth from them. It's also, and this is a huge one, a reaction to attacks on a person's character and behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's a reaction to feeling helpless to change. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what do I do with all of these changes that are coming down the pipeline, whether it's the NCAA rulings or whatever the case may be, and am I going to be able to capitalize on NIL and all of these things? And well, what about me?
Mm-hmm.
What about me? Like you said, what about the third string players?
Mm-hmm.
That is a time when we might see a player showing up a little bit more on the defensive side. Um, a symptom of a mental health disorder, of course,
Mm-hmm.
it when we think about mental illness, both in sport, because we know that a number of athletes are coming out acknowledging that they have mental health issues. I would suffice it to say, though, Ted, that there's a lot more that won't publicly acknowledge that they have mental health issues because there's still such a stigma. And I'm seeing this more and more and more among my clients where collegiate athletes are concerned. These young people are scared to death to make their coaches aware that they have mental health issues because they're afraid they're going to get benched. They're afraid that their shot at the pros is going to be benched because they have a mental health challenge. So it's putting people on the defensive because the powers that be are not taking responsibility and accountability for how they're contributing to players putting themselves on the defensive. And then it's a learned behavior.
So students now or athletes will be less inclined to be truthful about their feelings, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And now they just walk around masking all these things and these behaviors and these internal thoughts that they put on the field and do a great product for the university. But when they graduate, they graduate with all these same mental health issues, the same thoughts, all these things still brewing. And now you combine that with, no, you didn't make it to the NFL. Yes, you dedicated all your life and all these years of working out and everything, and they said no to you. And now what do you do? Yeah, I feel defensive too. If I feel like I got left out, or someone didn't really take good care of me, they promised me something that didn't come true, and I feel stuck. Yeah, it could be really, really tough. I mean, and that's why I'm a proponent of kids who have great talent. Go where you can play. Go where you can put the numbers up. If you're that good, they'll find you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a D1 school. You can do D2 and shine.
You sure can.
Yes.
And then when you go to those places, maybe you'll be appreciated more.
Yes.
I know that this probably happens at these top schools and the top, these blue chip players. What they don't think about is every state has a top player of the year. So let's say at minimum there's 50. Those top 50 gonna go to be recruited by probably the top 10 school BCS schools. When you get there, you're one of several other top high school athletes in your state throughout the country that's on that team. Not taking into account that there were 2 or 3 year athletes that are sophomores and juniors that were top tier athletes before you got there. Where you gonna fit in?
Right.
I think you're gonna become defensive because they told you you're gonna be a star. You'll get here, man. We got plans for you.
I ain't getting no playing time. But you told me I was gonna be a star.
There you go. Now I'm defensive. I got all these things going through my head. I'm on scholarship. Can't go home. Mama gonna tell me, boy, get over that. They paying for your education. Don't worry about football. You gotta go back there and get that education. I ain't got no money to send you back there.
Right.
Tough it out.
Yeah. Suck it up. Put your big boy
Is that happening
is
that happening every day?
Every single day.
Absolutely. So yeah, our students are defensive and people are defensive in real life too, because whenever things don't work out the way they think they should, we get defensive and want to point the fingers at other people. So that is true. We got to get better.
Goodness gracious, we have to get better. And we only have 6 minutes left. So I want to make sure we get this in and time goes by so fast. And we were hoping that Ronnie would be able to join us. He was hoping that he would, but duty called. It is what it is. You
plan this in advance. You see how prophetic this is, because you asked me to be on here because you weren't going to be here, possibly. And Ronnie and I were going to be kind of doing this and for you. And then when you said, oh no, Ronnie's going to be here, I'm going to be here too. And now Ronnie's not here. And so we understand. So everything worked out. Everything worked out.
Indeed. So real quick, just a minute or two on this, and then we can wrap it up. Coaches should be mindful of players who exhibit defensiveness. You just touched on a whole bunch of reasons why. Oftentimes, their reluctance to play team ball stems from them feeling like they never had a proper team around them to support them. That ties into exactly what you said, Ted, about go where you can play. Go where you're going to be supported and where you're going to have an opportunity to shine, not necessarily going where the promises are being made, but going where you're actually going to be afforded the opportunity to play.
And be able to get your degree.
Yes, yes,
as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
I do think that, a lot of these high school athletes have
Mhm,
dreams of grandeur.
mhm,
I'm going to be on
mhm,
television and
mhm,
I'm going to be, Heisman Trophy winner and all these things. That's great.
mhm,
However, the problem with that is you got to remember that there's so many other athletes that are out there that are in a position that are just as good as you,
mhm,
or just may have a year ahead in the program of you. They may
mhm,
not necessarily be better, but I'm going to give the kid who has some more experience, who's been in the program, and give him a shot first.
mhm, mhm,
If I've been pumped up my entire life and coddled from
mm.
Pop Warner, man, you're
Yeah.
gonna be the next superstar,
Right.
through high school where you're the all met, all state athlete.
Mhm,
Now you
mhm,
go to college and you thinking that I've been coddled, everybody's giving me my shoes and everybody's
mhm,
tied them up for me
mhm.
and I've done all it. Now I get there and you're like at the bottom of the totem pole.
Right, right.
Mentally, I've
Mhm,
been treated like a stud or a
mhm.
superstar. And now I got thrown into a ocean full of sharks that are just like me. And
Right.
how do I make myself stand out
Yeah.
like I used to be?
Right,
And when
right.
you get taken from household name to number 30 on the roster,
Humbling.
that's a yeah. You either got to put in the work and say, "Hey,
Mhm,
I'm not as good as I thought I was, and this is a
mhm,
reality check," or
mhm.
you're going to get defensive and say,
Yep.
this university don't understand my talent,
They
and then
don't
I'm
know
a
who I
transfer.
am.
Then I'm a transfer, and then you're gonna see these athletes who've gone to
Mhm.
4 and 5 schools. I don't know how they've done that. Gone to
Right.
4 and 5 schools, and then they're like a graduate student
Yeah.
on Alabama or something. Now
Yeah.
you've been in school 6 years, but you
Finagling.
done bounced around through,
Mhm.
using the system to be able to get to where you wanted to be. All
Yeah.
because you were looking for someone to give you a chance to be
Yeah.
the star rather than coming in
Yeah.
and being a team player.
Right. Right. That's real. That's real. So time goes by so daggone fast. So look, so this is the deal. Whether it's in sport or in life, if you have a problem becoming defensive, then you know that it can have a negative impact on your life. We just painted that picture for you today, and we, painted it rather beautifully, if I can humbly say so. Maybe you feel stuck and you bouncing around from team to team because they don't see my potential. That righteous indignation, that all
Mm-hmm.
that all
Mm-hmm.
that foolishness going on, right? They I'm stuck. They don't know who I am, you know, and because of your righteous indignation, because you won't swallow your pride, because you won't be a team player, you are unwilling, really, because you're
That's
able,
it.
well,
Unwilling.
you're unwilling to change your defensive behavior,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to know that it's going to make matters worse for you in the long run. It'll make matters worse for you in the long run where your athletic contribution is
Mm-hmm.
concerned, but it'll make matters worse for you in life.
Mm-hmm.
You and Ted, you touched on it, right? It's like folks are paying attention to what you're doing and what you're saying. And don't think for a moment that when it comes to going to the league, and we heard about it during the NFL draft, right? And the NBA draft, the MLB draft, we hear about it during all these drafts. When the commentators are giving the highlights on the players that are being considered for drafts, especially when you get beyond round 3, you start hearing about, did such and such have an issue? Well, he was in trouble for this and he was in trouble for that. And, they said that about one of the players that we drafted. Jerry Jones likes to build them up in the whole 9 yards,
Mm-hmm.
but, he had this problem and that problem and the other problem. That stuff will haunt you. It
Character
will
issues.
follow you wherever you go on and off the field. You're out in the community. Folks see you acting like a park ape on TV during a game. Trust and believe, out in the community, when stuff jumps off, you better hope that the SCTV or whatever that's called showed that you wasn't the one that took the first shot. Because they're going to say, oh, he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do.
Character issues.
Yeah.
Your character is so much. Your character is so important as
Yeah.
you get into these leagues. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's the image of the brand,
Yeah.
and they can't bring anybody in that's going to
Yeah.
tarnish the image that they knowingly could tarnish it. Now
Yeah.
they made some mistakes and brought some people in, they covered it up, or they didn't show themselves after they got in. But those people get dealt with too. They're not going to let you tear down $1 billion brand because you foolish.
One of the biggest examples of that that still stays in the forefront of my mind is all of the stuff that came out about Aaron Hernandez's behavior when he was at Florida, and what that transitioned to and what that looked like when he went to the Patriots. And Belichick and they knew that there were problems. They knew that there were problems, but they invested in him anyway because he was a shining star. But when your character is flawed, patience will always force deception to reveal itself. We knew that it was coming out. So look, folks, we're out of time. I'm just going to tell you real quick how to be less defensive. And then we're going to bid you farewell until next week. But guess what? Ted coming back next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with you again. Yeah. I'm gonna have on a different shirt. I probably make sure I don't look like I wasn't here before. So
He said, okay. It's all good. So look, folks, this is how you can go about being less defensive. Become aware of your defensiveness. We said it during the show. You got to own it. You got to own your junk. You got whatever the bricks in your backpack of life are, you have to own that stuff. And you have to take responsibility and accountability for addressing your defensive behavior. Validate your feelings. Nobody taking you, you're entitled to feel what you feel. But like Ted said, you have to regulate your emotions as it relates to your feelings. You don't get to just act a nut because somebody hurt your feelings. It's I'm sorry, that's not clinical. That's not clinically appropriate language. I was like, look, I'm gonna be me.
Keep it real.
Yeah, it could be. You have to avoid acting on your feelings. Feelings are hurt. They're real. We're entitled to them, but we still have to be mature, responsible adults. We still have to avoid acting on our feelings, and choose to align yourself with your values. Have them. You have to have them first.
Yeah.
Have them and stay true to them. Anticipate when you're likely to become defensive. So you got to be a little proactive and plan ahead.
Know your triggers.
Know your triggers and your stressors. Know who, like, you know what? That person right there will do it to you every time. Boost your self-esteem. Come see me. Come see Ronnie. Come see one of our colleagues. You got to see a therapist. Take responsibility for your actions and improve your communication skills. Ted, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You know what I realized while we were talking?
What's that?
This is our anniversary. It's me and your anniversary because the last time you were on the show was when you covered for me because I was getting married. Tomorrow is my 1-year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
We made it.
Girl, it wasn't no doubt. That man love you and you love him.
Indeed.
Listen, so what y'all, you don't want to publicly tell everybody what y'all gonna do for your anniversary, or do you know?
I do know.
Oh, okay.
We celebrate. Look, we celebrating our anniversary from now all the way through November when we celebrate my 55th birthday. So we decided we're gonna make a journey of it from now until November. We have different things that we're doing that are just really sentimental and meaningful to us. So I want to publicly say happy anniversary to my loving husband, Eric Reginald Bounds. Happy birthday, Eric. Right? Happy birthday to him as well, because his birthday is tomorrow too. We got married on his birthday. Thank you, Ted, so much for hanging out with me today. Ronnie, thanks you. Hopefully he'll be back with us next week. Sure. We have another great topic for us to cover. Thank you, everybody. Go enjoy some basketball. Have a great weekend. It's supposed to be wonderful weather weekend. Until then, peace. See ya.
See ya. Bye, Lauren.
Bye, Ted.